Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Terry at Holding Your Space, and this is my guest today, Reverend Rick Cempie. Hi, Rick.
Thank you for having me today, Terry. It's lovely to be here.
You're welcome. So, I think most of you have met Rick before. He is a metaphysical minister. That's a lot to say in one now. What? Pardon me. That's me. I'm doing that. Anyway, metaphysical minister and an astrologer. You do a lot. You've got a lot of hats you wear.
I do.
Yeah. You also do you still have the podcast? I know you've got a big following on Facebook. But,
Well, I have been working with an astrologer on his podcast, and about a month ago or so, he was preparing to hand the reins over to myself and his colleague, actually a mentee of his that he taught and trained, and we are underway with shifting it around and taking the reins. He has passed away, and it is last night that we had our first announcement, and we were sharing with people that we're going to even create a few more spaces for us. So we'll have a Facebook page for the group to get together and share communication.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Yeah, I'm so sorry for your loss. I know you also do mediumship, don't you?
Yes, and so, that has been a joy.
Yeah, yeah. That makes such a difference when you lose somebody.
It does. Although people on the outside who don't understand mediumship think it's so much easier for mediums, but we still have bereavement to go through.
Yeah.
It just has a different shape.
Yeah, we've just been talking a lot on the channel about how some things are very sacred, and I think there are parts of grief that are very sacred.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lauren, hello, beautiful. We've got Lauren's coming in to say hi to you and me and Resilience Tribe. I love that word.
Wonderful.
Hey, Jeff, how are you doing? So everybody's rolling in. And, it's interesting, resilience. So Rick just wrote a beautiful paper on resilience and teaches that, which I think is wonderful. Also, it's like, we talk a lot about resilience and how that's part of the blue zones, people in the blue zones. That's like kind of a species thing, isn't it? Almost even. So, how you get through.
The survival of the fittest is built on resilience.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Tarot task backwards. I like that.
Right. Yeah. Rick, or Jeff is an amazing psychic, and Sally's here. Hey, Sal.
Hello, Rods. Sally. Yeah.
You remember Sal,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I'm sure people are going to understand that resilience is a broad category. It doesn't really tell you how you build it. And there are components and deficits and strengths. So we'll go through some of that. And hopefully people will gain a better understanding as to how you can recognize these elements in people's lives when they're in need. And it would help anyone who is participating today to develop stronger resilience for themselves and support others as they develop it.
Yeah, it's really a good timing for it, I think, with the election and the inauguration. And a lot of people are thinking, what next? A lot of people feel like, dejected, perhaps because of either their sexuality or perhaps by their politics, and a lot of division.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So I think it's good timing.
Yeah, it is an amazing time though.
Yeah. I think your phone stuff is coming through on the speaker
Yeah, I
through
was
the
just
channel.
actually
Oh,
turning all
okay.
the volumes off.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were aware of it or not. That's
Thanks
fine.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so being resilient when your phone beeps you, right? When you're in a when
Right?
you're in a show. But also, it's so important to be resilient just in everyday things. And
Hmm.
and I feel like that takes a lot of curiosity, doesn't it? Um,
I can see that. Curiosity is a very open gateway.
yeah, yeah. So I love that you're going to talk about this. I'd also like to mention while we're getting into this, ways that we can flip the switch um,
Yeah. How do
quickly.
we do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when our brains start going to the dark side, so to speak.
Right. And that would be something that I would think off the top of my head. We want to start with emotional regulation.
Hmm.
What do we have in place that supports us when we are assaulted by anxiety out of the blue?
Hmm.
What is our go to? I suggest having an array. We want to have more than one tool because uh, you could have something going on that one tool works for a long time, and then suddenly, boom, you need to go ahead and expand your toolkit. Talking about a toolkit, I was explaining to someone, you, you know, tool belt tool belts will keep tools at the ready, and it's interesting that it is in that space of the solar plexus and the sacral and the root, and it's empowering your mind, the crown, the third eye, you know. So it's important to recognize that even though they are mental tools, they're supporting the entire energy system. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So you asked something and I may have gotten off topic.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's part of being resilient, right?
Right. Right.
So, going into that toolkit,
Sure.
I feel like senses play a huge part of that. When we becoming present, and when things get crazy, whether it's the energy that's coming in or the messages that are coming in. Um, can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh. Um, well, senses also are powerful because of triggering with memory.
Hmm.
And when your memory is triggered, it can take you back to something beautiful or it can take you back to something demanding that
Yeah.
was difficult the first time you had to deal with it. Having it come back, and a number of people will recognize that happens with PTSD. There is trauma that you live through, but it keeps coming back. And that can be because you heard a certain engine of a car. You caught an aroma in the distance. Whatever might be related. Uh, Maybe somebody goes past you with a particular cologne in a crowded space and it just takes you back. Those things are very powerful. And then there is a therapeutic technique, 54321.
Hmm.
Do you also have a little bit of familiarity with it? Because it confuses my memory as to how to zero in on them.
There is. I do it a different way, but look at 5 things in the room,
Yes,
smell 4 things, feel. And when we go into meditation, we use that a lot. About once a week or every other week, we'll use that, and just do 5 things and 5 of the senses, and then we go into the subtle senses of our clairs. What
sure.
light tastes like, what nirvana tastes like, and knowing. So that settles things.
And just to ground the human body and bring the spirit, because people in trauma, when they go into an episode, if they don't go ahead and find a way to regulate, it can actually appear psychotic.
Yeah.
The trauma is that serious and
oh, go ahead.
tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky
It
stuff.
is tricky. And sometimes people that are incredibly sensitive and psychic and intuitive are thought to be psychotic, right? Especially in the olden days.
Even in the way our minds work and our communication as being so different, because we are differently enabled, and people aren't able to understand how we are uniquely special and brilliant. I think we see that in the neurodivergent community.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's a big topic of discussion lately.
That is huge. I have almost everybody in my family, of all the nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles, we all have a D in our name somewhere, or an S or an N or something. But we all have and it seems like a lot of people that are in the intuitive realm have something as well. We come in a little bit different. Our brains work a little bit differently.
Yeah. And it's not like we understand it very early.
Yeah,
what is different. We may isolate thinking nobody talks about this, so maybe I'm different. Or maybe they think everybody's like this. They think it's normal. Those are other odd experiences that can occur. So it's different dynamics for different situations.
Yeah. Lauren says I have a few myself. Right, Lauren? Yeah. I've got two of the people in my household are on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. And I really take a lot of note from when they were kids and they do this.
Sure.
And a lot of times when we go into meditation, I do this and offer that to people, because I find that does really regulate you quickly, getting into your body.
I'm a lefty, and I used to wonder what it was like to write with the right hand. And I would even on occasion pick up something with my right hand, and it would creep me out, the feeling of holding a writing implement with that hand so much that I'd have to go ahead and shake it off.
Well, yeah, because movement is a huge part of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally stirs the energy and allows you to unplug from a stimulus. That's exactly what's going on. Yeah, we're lefties. We're the only people in our right minds.
Right, Julie? Yeah. Barbara and Lottie. Barbara says, both my mother and brother were mentally ill. I've always wondered the connection between spirituality and visions.
Oh, wow. Huge connection.
Yeah.
I have experience with being spiritual support for people in a variety of situations. And one individual was traumatized from a surgery recovery. It was bringing up previous trauma because of similarities of the recovery. And it put them actually into a psychotic episode where they were seeing things. But it was someone who was gifted spiritually, a medium who was getting, for her entire life, images and messages from spirit through the world, like a fox in the neighborhood decides to is prancing up and down the hill that was where she lived in her neighborhood, and momentarily stopped the prancing, turned and looked at her through the window, and they caught eyes, and it just made her stop and realize, I need to do something. And she realized, I need to look at my phone, because she would easily get distracted and not pay attention. And when she did, she saw messages to get to that were timely, time sensitive. So it's amazing how you see that. The holographic universe is something I reference, Michael Talbot's book, and he goes on to explain that there are things that schizophrenics will experience, that if you speak to shaman, you'll see that some of the things they experience are very much shamanic in nature. So there is a different world of communication that is opened by mental illness or mental uniqueness as well.
Yeah.
You know,
I had a dear friend. We were roommates for 3 years, and she was bipolar. And she was always quite intuitive, but sometimes the medicines that they gave her would bring her down, and she couldn't connect. And then every once in a while, she would go high. She didn't go low very often, but she'd go high quite often. And as she was going into that, she would become so spiritually connected, and amazing things that she would talk about. But then it would go to another realm, and she'd be, driving her car backwards through town. So it was just interesting how that worked. And golly, if she could have kept it right there, right in that spot, I felt like she is so gifted. She's an artist now.
Oh, you know what? People need to realize how importantly powerful creativity is. That is probably one of the things that has helped people with resilience to develop, because you discover things about yourself, not just that you have a talent, but in the process of being creative, because you're going to spend an hour on the task, your mind will go in different spaces while your hand and your eyes are tending to things, and you'll have stray thoughts, and suddenly you're firing on all cylinders, and you're having aha moments because you spent time being creative.
Yeah. It's that's huge, that creativity. And it seems like it works hand in hand with the superconscious and the collective consciousness, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to make that that signal when I say that.
I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing how you can just tap into things, and when you go ahead and engage in more creativity, you're also going to experience more synchronicity. That tends to happen more.
Definitely. Definitely, like two people inventing the light bulb at the same time, right? And
Right.
two people or five people inventing the telephone at the same time.
Discovering an idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I remember so many times I would think of something. And years ago, I was in fashion, and I would think about designing something, and then the next thing I knew, it was the big hit the next season. I was like, "Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do anything with that."
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's intriguing how we all can get messages from the collective unconscious, and different people are getting them. And that's why dream interpretation can be so powerful, because so many of the symbols are caught through our cultural experiences. You know, Mind Your Tongue may deal with something you are thinking about saying, or the whole nature of what do we speak, what do we not speak, what are we restraining ourselves from saying because we're fearful.
Yeah. I love this. Lauren says, I've heard Willie Nelson talk about that with music. He is so glad he heard certain songs first. Right, Lauren? Yeah. And so this is interesting. I'm just going to throw in one more thing and then we'll, because it just keeps niggling in my head, but AI.
Mm-hmm.
So AI is such a collective consciousness.
Yes.
It's amazing. And I feel like there are other dimensions that we're working with AI.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the computer. I think it's technology is bringing in a collective consciousness from another dimension at times. And I feel like, I just did a read the future thing. Do you know Jean Mayall? She's on the East Coast. Anyway, she does a lot of read the future things, and and she's a minister too. But she does. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, we talk about that, like how we get into that. But I was thinking about, this is going to change the world as we know it. The AI.
Oh, yeah.
The AI. Yeah. And it'll bring in things that's going to help everybody, no matter where you're at in society. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is unique what can be created or answered or discovered by AI based on the framework of the questions of the operator asking the questions.
Yeah.
That's been understood by people who analyze statistics. They say figures never lie, but liars always figure. Because it's able to reveal accurate information or false information, depending on how it's informed. So that's why it's a tricky thing, and you have to know who your audience is.
It is a tricky thing right now. Yeah. And the other thing is a lot of it is not truth right now that's coming in from AI because of what it's been fed. But also the other thing is a lot of things that we're hearing is not truth either because of what we've been fed. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Okay. Yeah. But let's get back to being resilient because sorry.
Great.
I went down a wormhole.
Oh my goodness, how easy that is to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. Okay. So I've gone ahead and just put together a list of different things regarding the strengths and deficits. And because I'm an astrologer, I'll also share that I do have some information on planets and signs so people can see themselves within it. Different strengths in resilience. I'm not seeing my StreamYard right now. I'm looking specifically at my document.
Okay.
And it is, I'll just list these. Emotional regulation, the ability to manage and express emotions constructively. This also you're going to find is strongly linked to emotional literacy, emotional intelligence, because there needs to be an awareness of the self. Another strength is optimism. Self-efficacy is a third. That's the confidence we have in our ability to overcome difficulties. Adaptability is our nature to be flexible. Social competence, dealing with interpersonal skills. It helps us seek support and build connections with others. Problem-solving skills. How can you use logic? How can you be creative to find solutions? A sense of purpose. which gives meaning and goals that are motivating during hardship. Oh my word, how important is motivation during hardship? Self-awareness, understanding our not just emotions, but triggers and limitations. Recognizing when we have to look for support or make adjustments and changes. Those are strengths. And then amongst the deficits, there's pessimism, poor emotional regulation, because it can hinder our decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Low self-esteem. It doesn't help if you don't feel capable. Rigidity, which will give us resistance to new perspectives or new methods. And that resistance creates its own problem.
Yeah.
Social withdrawal. How many people have had a heck of a time with self-isolation, especially after quarantine, when we experienced how we were expected to be isolated? There was a heck of a shift getting back into society.
Oh, golly, yeah. Going to movies is even a heck of a shift, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if people have heard this word before, but another of the deficits is catastrophizing.
Yeah.
It creates a cycle of anxiety and avoidance.
It does. As you're going through these, I'm feeling them in my chakras, and like that rigidity just really hits your heart chakra, doesn't it? Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting hard. And then the catastrophizing. I know people that do this, and 9 times out of 10, you really hold that in your solar plexus and your root chakra, and it hurts. Like it makes things hard to digest. It makes things hard to you kind of that fight or flight response, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when we talk about chakras, as a metaphysical minister, I fully think it's helpful to recognize there are words and phrases that our language will basically reflect a human awareness of chakras. Like, I remember somebody saying, "You could have knocked me over with a feather when I heard that." Or, "It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop."
Yeah.
There are these energizing of certain things. Your hearing being on high alert. You mentioned the heart chakra, and it reminded me immediately, because when I thought of that word that you were associating with it, I didn't just feel it through the core in front, but I could feel it in my back where the heart is.
Yeah. When we go in for healings a lot, especially emotional healings, we go in through the back of the heart, and especially in the back of the high heart chakra to send that pink light. And it's funny because we're on a free will planet and people don't have to accept it, do they?
Right.
And a lot of times if you're catastrophizing and you have that rigidity in your heart as well, it's kind of hard to take care of ourselves. And I'm finding that's a huge part of resilience, is taking care of yourself, isn't it?
Oh, it's completely taking care of yourself. And we
Yeah.
have to put the oxygen on ourselves first.
Yeah. Yeah. Take the yoga class, get the massage, go to the thrift store and buy the $8 diamond ring.
Hug a tree.
Yeah.
Take a walk.
Yeah.
In the
Right.
rain, if you want, jump in a puddle if it makes you feel better. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Sing a song.
Oh my golly, I used to love watching comedies in high stress times. Sometimes the older ones, the better,
Oh, I know. I've been talking to people about that, and a lot of people watch the old 70s comedies. YouTube has a channel that you can go back to those in the 80s
Okay.
comedy, and they're really fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The things we remember.
Right.
Also, getting into frequencies,
Hmm.
like sometimes it'll be, going and singing mantras, but also healing, healing places like singing sea shanties or in choir or anywhere you can sing, especially singing in a group raises that vibration, doesn't it?
Absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, two more deficits. The one that almost brings it home, we have learned helplessness. It is that belief that our efforts won't make a difference. This is like something right out of Eeyore's mindset. And it's usually due to past failures. And we have resignation where we just want to just collapse in the face of adversity. It just sounds so sad. And it is crippling.
Yeah.
And it blocks you from having an imagination and a willingness to try something different.
Sure.
I like to think that every no and failure gets you one step closer to yes and success. Just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. Also, we really shut down. Um, that disassociation is a huge part of that, isn't it? That shut.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah.
Impatience or frustration intolerance is another one.
Hmm.
It's a difficulty enduring discomfort over time. You find this a lot with chronic issues. This can really, to no fault of their own, somebody who's got a chronic illness is really going to be facing the same old forever. And then they may find that at some point as they age, their body doesn't respond to the previous treatment that they were used to experiencing success with for decades. Well, you have to shift. You know, it leads to maladaptive coping, and which would be possibly substance abuse.
What did you call that? Malactive code?
Maladaptive.
Maladaptive. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. We're not adapting our coping skills.
Yeah.
So, as far as building resilience, we want to cultivate our strengths. Sometimes just targeted interventions may help, cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness practices, social skill development. You know, I always validate introverts being completely as a valid expression of being. I do not see being an introvert as a problem. I do, however, see a problem if you happen to lose your small handful of people that you can be comfortable with because work and culture have taken them out of your circle. You need to replace those people as much as you can, bringing people to your inner circle so you continue to have a healthy experience with being an introvert. Yes, it takes time. I think it's going to be difficult, but your future depends upon it at times.
Yeah. Barbara says, my motto is baby steps, especially when in new territory.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel that way too, Barbara. Definitely.
So, in the area of astrology, there are some different things from the planets, but at over half an hour here through, I'm thinking I'm just going to go ahead and hit a little bit of the 12 signs,
Okay.
just to go ahead and give people a sense of seeing themselves in the whole experience. As far as resilience and zodiac signs, the Aries, embodies the determination and energy to tackle obstacles head on. That's one of their strengths. Boldness, courage, they really help. The deficit with that, they can be impatient. Impulsivity can hinder good problem solving, or maybe even get them started into something that's going to sabotage. So, they need to go ahead and take a pause.
Yeah. Sal says bam. And I'm like, amen. I'm Aries rising, and I'm always about asking for permission, not asking for forgiveness, not permission. It's kind of my motto that I have adapted.
Sure.
You just go for it, man.
Taurus,
Mhm.
perseverance, stability, strong sense of self-worth. These are all very grounding and allow for steadfastness in the face of adversity. But they also can be resistant to change or inflexible. That makes adaptation difficult. The Gemini is the communicator. They're big into adaptability, intellectual curiosity. That's going to lead them to new solutions, right?
Yeah.
Creative problem solving skills. But also, they have a tendency toward distraction and easily into overthinking that can lead to inconsistency. Shiny is a big thing with a Gemini.
Yeah. Perfectionism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they how is it, they sacrifice productivity with perfectionism, or perfection keeps them from productivity because they haven't found a way to do it perfectly.
Yeah. If you can't do it just right, then it's just overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure we've known our share of Cancers that are the nurturers. There's a high degree of emotional intelligence there, the ability to create a supportive environment, and a thriving through connection and care.
Yeah.
The rough side of that is oversensitivity, the tendency to retreat into a shell. That can hinder effective coping. So the Leo, the performer, people really recognize the Leos around them, right? There's confidence, optimism, sense of purpose, bringing enthusiasm and leadership to resilience efforts. I'm a Leo, folks.
I am too.
It's a great topic for us.
Yeah.
There's a vulnerability, though, to criticism.
Yeah.
And a need for validation that can undermine resilience. That brings to mind the idea that in a world of haters, I think it's important to recognize if the world's going to go ahead and dogpile on you, you cannot stop being your own best cheerleader. You have to learn how a good, healthy outlook is going to have internal validation, not external. I'm doing what is right because it gets the best results. I know I'm functioning by character. I'm functioning on a track record. Those are things that can give you that internal validation to remember how you're making your choices. Virgo is the analyst. A lot of people in our generation have a strong Virgo component from the Uranus-Pluto conjunction of the 60s. The strengths are practicality, problem solving, and attention to detail, and they excel in creating order out of chaos and developing strategic responses. Again, for deficits, much like the other Mercury ruled sign of Gemini, they can be overcritical. And perfectionism, again, can be a problem, leading to self-doubt or stress. Libra, our friendly harmonizers, the people that love to put on a smile. They have diplomacy, balance, the ability to build strong relationships. They can foster social support and harmony, which are key components of resilience. Indecisiveness leads the way in their deficits. They hate making choices.
Mhm.
Their people-pleasing tendencies hinder their capacity to hold on to their own identity, especially in challenging situations. They can sort of get lost in their concept of who they are in someone else's eyes. Scorpio is the transformer. They have emotional depth, resourcefulness, regenerative power, and they thrive on transformation and sometimes even emerge stronger from adversity. Their deficits run through intensity, a tendency to dwell on negative emotions, and that can lead to burnout or isolation.
Mhm.
Either one is difficult. Sagittarius, the explorer, a strong sense of optimism, a philosophical outlook, the ability to see the bigger picture, and they really bring hope and sense of purpose to resilience. Among their deficits can be overconfidence or avoidance of practical details. Some people might even look at their interests to hit the road as a giving up, but I like to think of it too as a way of stepping out of a negative environment. If you have that Sagittarian impulse somewhere, just challenge how you're going to use it. You know, make it a form of escape that gets you to higher ground.
Mhm.
Obstacles are just stepping stones to higher ground. That's something that I've learned a long time ago.
Yeah, we call them FGOs on the channel. So
Okay, what does FGO mean?
it means having growth opportunities.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah.
Capricorn is the strategist of the zodiac. They have discipline, responsibility, and long-term perseverance. They excel in enduring hardship and achieving goals through a structured effort. But they also experience elements of rigidity, tendency to overburden themselves because they are the can-do people. So they
Mhm.
take on too much. It could lead to feelings of being overwhelmed or even isolated. And then Aquarius is our visionary. They're known for innovation, independence, and forward thinking. They thrive on adapting to change and finding unconventional solutions. Tremendous thinkers where many genius concepts come from. Then there's their weaknesses. The deficits include detachment, resistance to emotional connection, because it'll actually limit their support from others when tough times occur. And then there is the dreamer, our Pisces, with the strength of empathy, spirituality, creative imagination. It gives them inner strength and a connection to a greater purpose. but they struggle with things that move them towards perhaps escapism or even avoidance of reality. That it definitely hinders effective coping. So, among those things, I'm sure you have seen yourselves in these. If there are any thoughts this brings to mind, please, by all means, feel free to ask a question.
Yeah, Barbara said I'm a Scorpio and tired of transformation at the moment. Ditto. And I'm not a Scorpio girl. Yeah.
Well, transformation is something that is not, it's not fun, because you have to be pushed to the limit that all of your resources have basically not held well, and you have to change. And that doesn't feel good. But there is a part of it that helps you shake off and redefine yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's good.
It's a huge process right now, isn't it? Because the whole planet's going through it at the same time. So it's shaky time.
We're facing it a lot because
The
Pluto
hands
has entered Aquarius.
Oh,
So our minds are very attenuated to thinking about Plutonian issues of transformation.
yeah. Yeah. Sal says, Pisces moon, Sagittarius sun, and ascendant. Whoa. With a lot of Capricorn. I'm tired right now, but I'm feeling change is coming. Or am I going to it?
Right. Yeah. Those combinations definitely seem like a lot of sensitivity and flexibility has been a part of your life with that Pisces Sag component. But then the Capricorn, because of its striving towards structure and having things done a certain way, there's a part of you that can be very exhausted by your flexibility and trying to do things loosey-goosey and just to cope. So there is like a push-pull when you have that in your experience. It's not always so easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's important to recognize there is no Band-Aid one stop. We are all created differently. We all have different mixes. That's why it's important to look at a whole chart, not just, you're welcome, Sally. We can't just look at one-stop shopping like the sun sign in the newspaper.
Right?
That's only good for two things: wrapping fish and lining bird cages.
Isn't that the truth? Back in the day, right? When we used to read Dear Abby and she could solve everything with like a funny sentence and or paragraph and listening to the astrology now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like once you've had your cards read a few times, forget about it, or your astrology charts done. Oh, and you were born on a solstice, Sally. Wow.
Yeah, that's a powerful moon space.
Yeah.
Those are other things that are amazing.
Wow. Hi, Amanda. How are you, honey? Yeah, so we're talking about resilience today and kind of reprogramming ourselves and getting on with it. So Barbara says, Scorpio sun, Libra moon, and Aries rising. Wow. You are so balanced.
Wow. That is definitely going to suggest that your life is one about learning about identity and relationships between, first of all, the relationship you have with yourself and how do you regulate your relationships with others. Because all three of those signs really emphasize one, the other, or both. Every time because the Aries is opposite the Libra. and the Scorpio deals with the power dynamics of how you deal with conflict. And all relationships have conflict.
Yeah. Let's
Got
see.
some more
Viviani. Hey,
Sages.
girl. Yeah. Hi, Terry and Reverend Rick. Hey, girl. Yeah, Sag sister.
Sal, I love that, learning about napping. You know, I have had a delightful relationship with napping through my entire life. And I come by it honestly because my mother used to say I could fall asleep at the drop of a hat. I'd look bright and alert as an infant and then just pass out. And even to this day, I seek going into sleep to go ahead and work things out. I sleep on things like you would not believe.
Oh, like Edgar Casey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Einstein, I think, was also another one. Or
Wow.
was it Edison? Or
I don't
both?
know.
They would find answers to problems through sleeping on something.
Yeah. I've started taking little naps as I got older, but it was never good for me. I was always go go go. Um because it would make me feel like the rest of my day was hazy. But my late husband, he napped all the time, and he could nap for 5 minutes and he'd be ready to go for another 4 hours. Like bam. He was
Right.
on it. Yeah. Viviani loves her naps and her cats.
Oh,
Aw,
and
with
you
their
know, there is something so great about incorporating lessons from animals. It's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk about somebody to regulate your system, your cat, when they're purring.
Right. The
Oh my
purring is
god.
power.
Yeah. Yeah, that mantra is beautiful.
It actually emits a particular frequency that just stills the soul. It
Yeah.
really makes a difference.
But the meow is a different story, isn't it? The meow is like,
Right.
whoa.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying. Somebody told me recently that cats have adapted to humans and mimic babies crying when they
Oh,
meow,
yeah.
and to get humans' attention, which I thought very clever. I'm trying to teach Zeppelin, my cat, how to meow, mama, meow, meow.
Right.
But he's not
Mine
quite.
was mine would go ahead and say, "Ma."
Yeah, ma here, but I want
Yeah.
ma, ma. I want it. I
Right.
want it. I want it my way. Amanda says Sag Sun, Libra Moon, Leo Rising, 3 planets in Cap and Capricorn South Node. Girl, you got it going on. Yeah, that's.
And the south node there.
Mhm.
So that south node suggests you might need to go ahead and move into um, the Cancer vibration with the north node, and maybe taking time and space to nurture yourself and also hold space for others in this life, because you've had quite a bit of learning how to set things up with structure with that Capricorn South node.
Oh, that's beautiful. Amanda's a regular in the meditation group, and she does hold a lot of space. She's amazing. And
Yeah,
she
that's
cat naps.
great.
Yeah. Sally used to teach her dog to sing softly with me.
Oh, neat.
I love it when dogs sing. And my dog really gets after me sometimes if he's been taken to the vet and left
Mm,
there. Oh, no, 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 no. He has a lot to say or sing about it.
right.
But yeah, they can be very vocal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they can turn on the pitiful looks
Yeah.
with the puppy dog eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
The
another
size.
way. Yeah. Like,
Lots of size.
you're doing this to me?
Uh-huh. I can't believe she did that or said that.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I've got a cat that used to be a dog, and he does it all.
Mm-hmm.
He rolls over on his tummy or to have his tummy rubbed and but he's hilarious. Barbara, Sal Rods, I would fall asleep in the sun and end up with a sunburn. Ooh. Yeah, that's not good stuff, man. Hey, Bora Bora. Hey, Marby. How you doing? Yeah, so we're
Good to
just
see
talking about
everyone.
resilience. Yeah. And but so resilience, bringing our bodies back to homeostasis,
Sure.
especially in times of fight or flight response. Key.
Also, the mind.
Hmm.
Bringing the mind to homeostasis, where Zen cones are very helpful to, and recognizing that you see something happening, you don't want to just rush to judge whether it's good or bad. You're not going to know until it unfolds. So if it looks bad, just wait. You may find that before you can decide if it was good or bad, it could have been a blessing you didn't recognize.
Yeah.
And when things are good, you don't know when that goodness can create a difficulty. So this mindfulness is very helpful.
Hmm.
We have to hold space for our own thoughts and not
Hmm.
rush to judge.
Yeah. I'm I'm learning that all over again, having a teen in my house.
Mm.
It's been very interesting. My nephew moved in with us several months ago, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, right, Amanda. Yeah, he's a metaphysical scholar. He does astrology, ministry, and all sorts of things.
Yeah, I began my foray into astrology through the stories of the Greek myths in 76 and 77, and then dove into the math and the formulas in astrology. So I knew the players, the energies of the different signs, and then I learned how to put them together. It is in and my work is pretty masterful, and I even take further going into asteroids beyond what you would imagine. So I'm not just looking at Chiron or Vesta and Juno, but things like Achilles and Ophelia and other things like Nemesis, things that are showing points that will highlight your weaknesses, highlight your strengths. How do you go ahead and look at yourself as a soul with many lifetimes? What have you been experiencing? And what are you here to develop now? So, for that reason, I look at the nodes, the strengths, and I do incredible work with a long reading of about an hour and a half, but I will give you an extra 15 minutes to go ahead and take notes. So even though I consider that the billable time, and then I'm just chatting with people afterwards because they
Wow.
need time to process. I give so much information, people are like, "Ooh, need to rest."
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I put your information at the bottom of this video, but we've had Rick on 2 other times, and the information's there, and I'll put it on at the end, but, they can reach you through Cempie's Corner, and you've
On
got a
Facebook,
phone
yeah,
number. Yeah, through
yes,
Facebook, and you've got a phone number that you can call him directly or text him, and he'll.
yeah. Texting is
Yeah,
preferred.
yeah,
Always make your first communication with me text. Send your name, and I know you've already gotten the heads up because when you send me your name, I know that you personally got that instruction, and then I'll set up a call with you
well, I love
because
that.
I can have emergency calls all the time.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here again, Rick. This was a joy, and
Oh,
everybody
super fun.
here, thank you for coming and visiting with us. That
Yeah,
was
and
a
I'm really
joy too.
excited that people were connecting with different ideas about resilience
Yeah,
and seeing their own self in it with their astrological connections.
yeah, amazing, amazing. All right, everybody. Well, have a great weekend, and I'll be on I think I'm on tomorrow, but I'm not positive. I can't remember. If not, I'll see you Monday.
All righty.
Have a
Many
great one,
blessings
everybody.
to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
astrological